Episode 1. Stay out of the upstairs room. The house didn't creak when I first walked in. It sighed, like something had been waiting too long with its breath held. My Aunt Lorraine greeted me at the door in her usual faded cardigan and distant smile. She looked older than I remembered, not just tired, thinned out, like the house had been feeding on her. "Thanks again for doing this," she said, handing me the keys. "They won't keep me long, just some tests, maybe a few nights." I told her not to worry, that I needed the quiet anyway. Campus had been a mess, too loud, too fake, too full of people pretending not to be depressed. Lorraine's house, for all its weird energy, felt honest. It was old. It didn't hide that. We drank peppermint tea in the yellow kitchen, while the wind outside played with the loose gutter like a chime. She gave me a brief list of instructions: a trash day, thermostat quirks, how to reset the router. And then she leaned in just slightly. "One thing," she said, her voice hushed. "Don't open the room upstairs, the one at the end of the hall." I blinked. "Okay, why?" "It's just storage," she said too quickly. "Dusty, dangerous, and frankly, bad memories." I didn't press. We all have doors we keep shut. The next morning she was gone before I woke up. A note by the kettle: "Make yourself at home. And thanks again, Claire." The first day was normal. I unpacked, did some laundry, walked to the little coffee shop down the road, and read half a novel by the window. The house was still and respectful, like it understood I needed peace. But that night, I dreamt I was standing at the end of the upstairs hallway. The door was open, just a crack, enough to see something soft and flickering inside, maybe light from a music box. I woke up in a cold sweat, the air in the room strangely still, like something had been watching me and slipped away when I stirred. When I went to brush my teeth, I caught a glimpse of myself in the bathroom mirror, but for a split second, my reflection didn't move. It just looked at me and smiled. Episode 2. Footsteps and humming. The second night was worse. It started with soft creaks above me, just once. Then again, too rhythmic to be the wind, too slow to be the old pipes. It sounded like someone walking barefoot on the wood upstairs. I was lying on the couch reading. At first, I ignored it, tried to anyway. But the pattern kept changing, like someone pacing, then pausing, then pacing again. I told myself it was the house settling, but something about it felt deliberate, like it wanted me to hear it. I got up, crept halfway up the stairs, and stood still. Silence, the kind that presses in on your skin. I turned back, went to the kitchen for a glass of water, but just as I lifted it to my mouth, the sound came again, a long, drawn-out creak right above my head. I didn't look up. I didn't want to. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what Lorraine had said. Just storage. Bad memories. The way her eyes flicked away when she said it. Around 2 a.m., I started to drift off. I was finally floating in that shallow space just before dreams when I heard it. A girl's voice, humming, soft, tuneless, like someone trying to remember a lullaby. The sound drifted down the hallway from upstairs, faint as fog. It paralyzed me. I knew that voice, or something in it. It wasn't my sister's, not exactly. But there was a tilt to it, this little catch in the hum, like when someone's lips tremble while trying to stay calm. My sister, Lily, used to do that when she was scared, or pretending not to cry. The memory came without warning, Lily on the swing in our backyard, humming that exact broken melody after Dad yelled at her. I hadn't thought about that in years. I got out of bed. I don't know why. The hallway upstairs looked darker than before, like the walls had drawn inward, the shadows breathing with me. I didn't go all the way up, just to the third stair from the top. That's where it felt safest, or less unsafe. And then I whispered it. Lily? Nothing, just the creak of the house behind me and that low, oppressive silence that followed. I turned around. For just a second I saw something move in the hallway mirror downstairs. It was fast. Wrong. A flash of a little girl in a white dress, arms at her sides. But when I looked again, it was gone. Just me. Standing there like an idiot, holding onto the railing like it would save me. I went back to bed, but I didn't close my eyes for the rest of the night. Episode 3. The Mirror at the End of the Hall. There's a mirror at the end of the upstairs hallway. I don't remember it being there when I was a kid. Maybe it was, maybe not. Memory's weird like that. It edits itself. But now, I can't stop looking at it. Or, more accurately, catching it, watching me. The glass isn't dirty. In fact, it's too clean. Clear in a way that feels unnatural, like it's showing more than it should. It started with little things. I'd walk past and catch my reflection lagging half a second behind. Or I'd blink, and my reflection wouldn't. Just stood there, eyes wide, unblinking, like it was waiting for me to notice. And then, one night, I saw her. I was brushing my teeth, and as I leaned forward to spit, I caught a figure behind me in the hallway, standing just in front of the mirror, small, pale, not moving. I spun around, toothbrush still in hand. The hallway was empty. I crept closer, slowly, stupidly. My reflection stared back, nothing out of place, until I noticed her, barely there in the corner of the mirror, a faint outline, like something pressed against the glass from the other side. A child's face, half-shadowed, eyes open but wrong, not vacant, not empty, just watching. I reached out, not to touch the mirror but to test it, to see if my hand would go through. It didn't. Of course it didn't. That night I tried to film it. I held my phone up and recorded while walking slowly toward the mirror, hoping to catch something, some flicker, some proof. But when I played the video back, the hallway looked off. Not empty, not quite. The angles were wrong. The light didn't match. And at one point, the camera glitched just for a second, and my reflection wasn't me. It was someone else, someone younger. And she was standing still while I kept walking. I paused the video and stared at that frame for way too long. It looked like Lily. Not as I last saw her, but younger. 6, maybe 7, wearing her old denim jumper, the one with the daisy buttons. Her hair in pigtails. I hadn't seen that version of her in years. That night, I left the hallway light on, closed the bedroom door, stuffed a towel under the crack. But the mirror stayed on my mind. I couldn't help thinking about what Lorraine had said. Just storage. Bad memories. Bad memories don't stay behind doors. They find reflections. They bleed into the edges, and I think something on the other side wants me to look longer, wants me to recognize it. Episode 4. The key she wasn't meant to find. I wasn't looking for anything. That's the worst part. It was raining outside, a steady gray drizzle that turned the house into an echo chamber. I'd lit a candle in the living room for comfort, played some music low on my phone, tried to sketch just to keep my hands busy, but the pencil wouldn't stay still. My lines were shaky, nonsensical, circles and spirals, always closing in on something. Eventually I wandered, like I always did when I felt like the walls were breathing too close. I ended up in the guest room across the hall from the locked door. It used to be Lorraine's sewing room. Dusty now. Still smelled like old wood and dried lavender. A few boxes sat stacked in the corner, Christmas ornaments, photos, old books. And on the dresser, a small wooden music box. It hadn't been there yesterday. I was sure of it. It was the kind with a brass crank and little flower carvings on the lid. Faded paint. Familiar somehow. I turned the handle once. The melody wasn't clear, just a warped, broken tune. But I recognized it. A lullaby, the one my mom used to hum when we were sick, the one Lily always asked for, even when she was too old for lullabies. Goosebumps rose on my arms. I opened the lid. Inside, instead of the usual twirling ballerina or velvet lining, there was something that made my breath catch. A small brass key, delicate, old, like it belonged to a dollhouse, or a locked room no one was supposed to enter. I shouldn't have touched it. I knew that. But my fingers closed around it before I could stop myself. It felt cold, even though the room was warm. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing things, scraping above me, faint, rattling, like someone dragging their nails along the inside of a door. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, the key resting on my nightstand like a heartbeat. I couldn't quiet. At 3 a.m., I got up. I didn't want to, but I moved anyway. The hallway was pitch black. My phone's flashlight trembled in my hand. I passed the mirror without looking. I couldn't look. The door was waiting at the end of the hall, same as always. But this time, when I held up the key, the lock clicked. The door didn't creak. It didn't groan. It opened smoothly, like it had just been waiting for someone polite enough to knock. The smell hit me first. Stale air, dust, and something else. Sweet and rotted, like old perfume and spoiled milk. Inside, the room was small, children's wallpaper peeling, a tiny wooden bed, a stuffed rabbit missing an eye, a chair by the window, and photographs, so many photographs. Pinned to the walls, scattered across the floor, every single one of me, alone, a little girl, in different outfits, different years, but always me, and never Lily. Episode 5. What's Behind the Door? I don't know how long I stood there, staring at those photos. There were dozens, maybe more, sprawled across the floor, pinned to the walls with rusted tacks, some even taped to the inside of the closet door. They weren't old family pictures, no parents, no birthday parties, just me. Me in parks I didn't remember visiting. Me holding toys I never owned. Me smiling in ways I don't think I ever smiled. I picked one up. It was black and white. I was standing on a beach, alone. No footprints beside me. My hair was blowing in the wind. But the waves behind me were completely still, like the photo had captured two different realities at once. Another showed me asleep in this very house, my hair braided, my face peaceful, but I've never slept in braids. I don't even know how to do them. And none of the photos showed Lily, not one. There were toys in the room I didn't recognize. A dollhouse with half its roof missing. A tea set with only 3 cups. A tiny sweater with my name stitched into the collar, but not by my mom's handwriting. That detail hit harder than I expected. I backed away. My heart was pounding, too loud, like it didn't belong in my chest anymore. The mirror on the far wall, different from the one in the hallway, caught my reflection. And in it, I wasn't alone. There was a girl standing behind me, Her dress was pale, her face half-shadowed, but I knew that shape, that posture, that silence. Lily. I turned. Nothing there. I looked back at the mirror. She was still there. She raised her hand and pressed it to the glass. I did the same. But my fingers met nothing, no surface, no cold, just air. And Lily's hand moved differently. It wasn't a reflection. It wasn't me. I stumbled back, knocking over a chair. The stuffed rabbit fell with a soft thud. I wanted to scream, but my throat had closed. My mind raced with possibilities, hallucination, breakdown, grief, flashback, but none of them explained the weight of that room. None of them explained why. Suddenly, I remembered being here before. I remembered a game we played, hide and seek, me hiding in the closet, waiting for Lily to find me, waiting for hours, but she never came. And then, the door. She closed it, not out of cruelty, out of fear, but she never opened it again. I sat on the floor. The pieces weren't just falling into place, they were rearranging. All the years of remembering Lily as the one who was gone, the one we mourned. But what if that wasn't true? What if I was the one behind the door? What if I never came out? What if I've been haunting this house all along, and everyone else just learned to look past me? Episode 6. You were never meant to leave. I called my mother the next morning. I don't even remember deciding to do it. I just found myself pacing the hallway with the phone already ringing, my fingers cold, my breath short. She answered on the second ring. Claire. Her voice cracked like she'd just woken up, but there was something else. Panic, barely hidden. I need to ask you something, I said, and I need you to be honest. A pause. I could hear her breathing, like she already knew what was coming. Did I ever come back from the accident? Silence. Then, Claire. Just my name. Software. Heartbroken. That was all it took. I sat down on the stairs, the phone trembling against my ear. I remember the hospital, I whispered, but I don't remember being discharged. I don't remember the ride home. I don't remember my bedroom, just this house. Lorraine's house. That's all I've seen for weeks. She sniffled. Honey, I don't know how you're calling me. What? She was crying now, trying to hide it, failing. Claire, you didn't make it out of the crash. Lily did. The line went quiet. But my world exploded. Everything that had felt off. The photos without Lily. The reflection that moved without me. The way the house never really let me leave. All of it made sense in the worst possible way. I dropped the phone. It didn't matter anymore. I ran through the house, checking every door, every window. I threw the front door open. There was nothing outside, no neighborhood, no street. Just a flat gray expanse, like the edge of a dream you're about to forget. I slammed the door shut, pressed my back to it. My mind was screaming, this isn't real. This can't be real. But it was. It had been. I wasn't alive. I was remembering myself. Or something else was remembering me. The air in the house changed. It wasn't just heavy. It was watching. The silence had corners now, shadows that bent the wrong way. I ran upstairs, to the hallway, to the mirror. And there she was, Lily, on the other side. She wasn't crying. She wasn't afraid. She just looked tired, like someone who's been carrying guilt for too long. She raised her hand. I did too. Our fingers touched the glass, but this time it was warm, and I understood. She had been coming back to this house in her dreams, or memories, or both. She wasn't haunting it. I was. I pressed my forehead to the mirror. Lily, I whispered, I forgive you. She closed her eyes. When she opened them again, the hallway behind her was full of light. Then she was gone, and the mirror showed only me, alone. Episode 7. The Sound the House Remembers. There's a sound the house makes when no one is speaking. It's not the wind, not floorboards, not rats in the walls. It's a kind of breath, shallow, wet, like someone trying not to sob. I started noticing it after Lily disappeared from the mirror. Not just gone, erased, as if she'd never been there, as if I'd made her up entirely. I started walking in circles, through the rooms, down the stairs, into the kitchen, everything in its place. Nothing changed, but I kept thinking, what if I never stop walking? What if this loop is all that's left? That night, I heard the lullaby again, but this time it wasn't humming. It was singing, software off-key, from somewhere deep below the floorboards. I followed it, past the guest room, past the stairs, down into the basement I swore wasn't there before. The light bulb on the ceiling flickered weakly. The walls were concrete, cracked like veins. It smelled of wet earth and ash. And in the corner, something new. A door, too small for an adult, painted the same color as my childhood bedroom. The singing stopped, and a voice said, "You're almost ready." It wasn't Lily's voice. It wasn't my mother's voice. It was mine, but younger. I opened the door. Inside it was the same room, the child's room, the one with the photos. But now the bed was made. The stuffed rabbit sat neatly on the pillow, and in the chair, a girl, me, maybe 8 years old. She didn't look at me. She just whispered, "You left me here." I shook my head. I didn't know, but she kept whispering, "You were supposed to stay. That was the rule. 1 out, 1 inch." And suddenly, I remembered the game, the real one. Lily and I used to play it in this room. We'd hide in the closet and take turns being the watcher. The watcher stayed behind the door. The watcher listened. The watcher never left. But one night, I cheated. I left. And she stayed. I fell to my knees. Everything blurred. The house was pulsing now, like it was breathing through me. The girl stood, came closer. "Lily left," she said. "So you came back?" "No," I said, barely audible. "That's not how this works." But her eyes said otherwise. She took my hand, and I felt it again, the loop, the tether, the weight of being remembered. And then I understood. I'm not a ghost. I'm a memory the house refuses to forget. It keeps me here, because someone, somewhere, still feels guilty, still remembers the night the door closed, still hears the humming, and that's enough to keep me alive, just enough to trap me.
This story has come to an end. Ever had something like this happen to you? Tell me in the comments. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next true horror story.